it's good to see that some of the some of the supervillain role plays have been going out there. It's something I've been trying to get forward. As most of you know, um, this Year of the Villain is basically player run. Yes, they're running NPCs, but the reason they're running NPCs is because that means at the end of the year, end of this role play, if they want to retire that character, they can. That uh, there will be something that happens, and if it was a player character, then they would be stuck, and all the repercussions of the events, everything that had occurred, would come back on, land on squarely on their head. But with it as NPCs, even if we do end up keeping that character, if that character gets kept, if the it's okay to have it land on their because they're an NPC and they can be a full-time villain. They don't have to try to be get along with everyone. Guess that's the best way to put it. They don't have to try to get along with people after it's all over with. So, in a couple of weeks, we're going to have another. We'll have another GA battle with that, and that is awesome. Okay, the main thing that I wanted to talk to you about today, and obviously I will open up for questions. Yes, I'm a little short today because I have to work, and so I will try. It's imperative that I stick this to an hour, and so I will try to make sure that all your questions get answered. But the prime thing that I wanted to bring up today were, yes, actually, consequences make fun role plays too. And that's very, very, very true. But um, the consequences of a year long event could be, you know, for a player character, that could pretty much make it so that nobody plays with them anymore. So I thought, hey, you know what, NPC would be better for this one, because it, that is just a thing. Okay, so uh, lots of. I hope you. Hopefully, you have questions. But the thing I wanted to discuss today was outsiders, the various uh, types of outsiders. Now, some of you, I mean, are not even familiar with the term, but for those of you that are are familiar with the term, you know that outsiders are everyone that does not come from the prime Terran plane. Okay, in D&D terms, that would be called the prime material plane. Here, it's Terra, the prime Terran plane, and also in some formats, you'll notice that outsider only indicates the beings that are from the chaos plane. But uh, in other formats, it's anyone from any other plane. Okay. Now the chaos plane, there you're gonna have that's and gonna be beings like Grell, Beholders, Illithid, Aboleth. You know, they're going to be the beasties with 10 eyes and 12 legs and all this craziness, you know. And the aberrations, if you're familiar with any of the D&D books, they would be listed as aberrations. Okay? Now, but they're not the only outsiders. Um, Demons, devils, uh, elementals, celestials, those are all outsiders also. Because they don't live on the Terran plane, do they? No. And, well, then you may come up with, it's like, well, what about Fae? Fae live on the Terran plane, and they're kind of elementals. Well, actually, yes, they are kind of elementals, but they are not pure elementals. They are uh, bonded with the world. They are still Terran, not as Terran as elves are, okay? But elves originally were outsiders, but they have been here for so long, and in order to survive, they became bonded with the world. That is why there are 13 kinds of elves, because they became bonded with one of a different thing. Fae, on the other hand, when they crossed over, or when they do cross over, in every case, yes, they are technically from the Fey Wilds, which is another plane. But they are as bonded to the Terran world as they are anywhere else. Okay? The world in which they're born, uh, for lack of a better word, is kind of like a spawning point. Okay? Anyone anyone here familiar with salmon? Okay? They
Mic off.
spawn at a particular place and then they go elsewhere. Okay? And then they they live elsewhere. They'll go back home, okay, quote unquote. They go back to their spawning point to have more young ones. But they don't live there. Okay? That's the way Fae are. Okay? They may wander around the spawning point and hang out there, but that's not really where they live. Okay? That's where they're born. That's where they spawn. That's where they mate and all that jazz. Okay? But that's not where they live. So the difference between Fae and elves in that particular instance is that, you know, Fae are simultaneously part of two places. Kind of like salmon can be saltwater and freshwater. The same fish can switch back and forth. Fae are like that. Okay? Elves, on the other hand, when they crossed over originally, hundreds of thousands of years ago, they became bonded to this world, and that made them not outsiders. All right? At that time, the only Terrans uh, were the dragons, were controlled the world, but then there were some hearty beasties that could survive in the world. And at that time, the only hominid were Irda. And if you don't know what Irda are they're giants that were here. They're pre-ogres, all right. And of course, when elves came over, they brought magic, and that gave dragons magic, and it also gave Irda magic. Okay, and you know in some mythologies, the Irda are the you know the predecessors to Giantkin. Okay. Anyway, yeah, I know that that's a lot of information. I'm going back and forth about history and stuff. But yes, elves brought magic to the world, and that gave us dragons in Irda. Dragons were beasties up to that point. Okay, anyway, back to, well, she is a giant. She's just not a giant. That means that she has a spell cast on her that makes her same size as everyone else. Because Irda are smart. If they want to fit in with other people, they're not going to be 12, are they? No. No. If they want to fit in, then they're going to be 5.5 feet tall or whatever they want to be, right? Okay. So, that's exactly what I said. She makes herself not look like a giant. Okay? Because she needs to fit in for whatever reason. Whatever. Okay. So, uh therefore, Irda are and ogres and uh, and dragons are not outsiders. Okay. Yeah, that's pretty awesome. They are not outsiders. Elves were outsiders. They started out as outsiders, but they're not. That's right. Irda and dragons are not outsiders. Planar dragons, that's a different thing. Those are dragons that are born in the chaos plane. Okay? Kind of they are and yeah, the star dragons and planar dragons. Those are beasties that are born outside of the Terran plane. They therefore they're outsiders. Okay? But they're only related visually to Terran dragons. Okay? Terran dragons would not consider them to be uh, kin. They're kin only in name. Okay? Yes, because yeah, that's great. Uh, but they're as much kin to regular dragons as Illithid are to humans. Now, they're not really. Do you consider Illithid and humans to be kin? Not so much. They're both hominid, but that's about as close as you can get. You know, Illithid have more in common with squids and octopi than they do with humans. Okay, so that's the way outsiders are. Now, okay, so what about demons? Isn't isn't the abyss a chaotic plane? Well, yes, it is a chaotic plane. The 666 planes of the abyss are inherently chaotic. However, and they do link to the plane of chaos at the end of the 666. But they are not part of the plane of chaos. Okay? They are progressively worse, progressively more chaotic as you get to the last one. All right? Because it is a direct link. you know, but they there are still laws in the abyss. They progressively get less and less adhered to, but there are still laws. And you say, well, what kind of laws can that be? Well, laws are things like gravity, inertia, you know, these things that, as a being from the plane of law, like all Terrans are, that you take for granted. Okay, you take for granted that there are laws in the universe, that there is a cycle of life, that things live, die, and are born. Okay, in the planet chaos, those laws do not apply. In the abyss, those laws still apply. You know, less so when you get towards the end, but they still apply. You know, there is going to be gravity. If you walk into the abyss, you're going to walk on the ground. Okay? There's going to be ground for you to walk on. Okay? Belados for your attendance. Sleep well. But there is going to be ground for you to walk on. And that is a law. Okay? That is the law of gravity. Okay? Things are still going to be solid. Okay? Plane of chaos, maybe not so much. There are no laws. Okay? And beings who utilize chaos magic. Magic itself bends the laws of the universe, bends the laws of reality. Okay? But, I mean, it can cause you to fly. It can, suspend the law of gravity, levitate. You can suspend the laws with magic. All right? That is why there are some beings who have who go out of their way, especially to try to destroy magic on every level. Okay? Because they are purely lawful and they do not adhere to anything that bends the laws. All right? But that's right. Yeah, I'll correct. The chaos plane does not adhere. So, there are actually not anything that has physics is a law. Physics and are law are laws. Okay, and the only reason that the abyss has any physics. Oh, I apologize. Talk about the chaos plane. Yes, there are physics in the abyss. Correct. Correct. Because physics are law. All right. They're strange, but my apologies. I jumped around there. Was answering was replying to a thing. Yes, the abyss has physics. Chaos plane does not. Okay, but beings from the abyss are still outsiders. Okay, beings from the upper planes are still outsiders. All right. All right. They're both the abyss and, well, okay, the abyss is part of the plane of law. Um, all of the upper planes, and the lower planes, Gehenna, um, Tartarus, Elysium, the nine hells, all of that is part of the plane of law. Okay, and then the list goes on and on and on and on and on. All of those are part of the plane of law because they all have physics. They're all outsiders generally. If you're not from the Terran plane, you're an outsider. Okay? Because if you're from another plane of existence, that makes you an outsider. So you may ask the question, well, what about undead? Okay? Undead are from the negative material plane, or I like to call it the nether plane, because the ether plane is also undead, and the nether plane. All right, both of those, they're both uh, other planes, right? Don't does that not make them outsiders? Well, technically, okay. Just like Fae, remember what I was talking about? Fae are have 1 foot in each in two planes, like they like salmon. Okay, they can switch back and forth. Well, undead are the same way. Undead are even more of that because they have a pure duality. They don't just switch back and forth. Fae switch back and forth. Undead simultaneously exist in two planes of existence. That's why they're constantly in pain. Okay? Undead do not like being undead, mostly. There are ways to circumvent, but generally speaking, undead do not like to be undead because they exist in two planes of existence at the same time, and that is not fun. It hurts. Now, there are ways to change this, okay? A necromancer or a shaman, because generally speaking, shaman deal with the ethers, and necromancers deal with the nethers. There are ways to make it so that they are all the way here. When they're all the way here, they don't hurt. They don't hurt. It's not the same. But most of them are half here and half there. So then they don't. It's not as much fun as it sounds. Okay. Uh, but so are they outsiders? Well, not really. They're as much of an outsider as a Fae is. Not necessarily an outsider. They are both. Okay. Okay. Now, I know that I've thrown lots and lots of information out, talked about history and talked about tertiary information about uh, outsiders, giving you some ideas about what's going on. I'm going to uh, open the floor up to questions. Yes, undead are in the same category as Fae. Fae and undead are technically they're as opposite as you could be. You know, if a necromancer was to curse a Fae with undeath, that would actually be a true curse. Okay, and it would be very very difficult to do. It's, it's not like your standard necromancer could do that. It would be a really, really rough thing to do. But hey, you know. Okay, so any questions about all things that we've talked about? I've talked a little bit about, how dragons are not outsiders and Irda, you know, and then how elves were, but they're not anymore. Okay, uh, humans are not. Okay. Also, I've talked about a lot of beings, a lot of the beings that are outsiders. No questions about anything I've had to say today. Yes, absolutely. An undead should, when they're role playing, they should keep in mind, okay, if it's a ghost, okay, that opens up, it could be either. But most of them are going to be part of the nether. And that is going to be, uh, it's going to definitely affect the role play. All right. Um, shadows, vampires, poltergeists. Okay. Vampires are corporeal. All right. Shadows, poltergeists are not. So they're more there than they are here. Vampires are more here than they are there. But they have the same degree of link. All right. Yes, there is undead go up in power level depending on their racial type, but they are still connected regardless. Okay. But yes, most of them are part of the nether. Now, the good ones, quote unquote, undead, are part of the ether, all right? And that's the ones that the shamans can reach. Now, not that necromancers cannot contact the ether or manipulate the same way they do the nether. It's just that typically that does not occur. Does not mean it can't. It's not typical. And ghosts can be in either way. Okay. Um, s- standard snakes and spiders and wolves, etc., are Terran. They're not outsiders, but the ones that are, um, but there are ones that are like a flaming wolf, for example, is an elemental that is a weird. Okay, so weirds are outsiders. Does that answer your question? Still a silver wolf. Okay. All right. Yeah. Rephrase your question so I can help you out here. I'm amused at the demon fox that just appeared, or say Baphomet, so it could be Devil Fox. All right. The beasties that are from another plane are outsiders. Okay. If they're from another plane of existence, they're outsiders. If they have been bonded with the world, oh, bees and ants are not from another plane of existence. You know, and hive mind or not, you know. But yes, hive mind or not, they are not from another plane of existence. The ones that are from another plane of existence, like, you know, and there are a few, to to include the Metallica, and they are outsiders. But the ones that are from this plane are not outsiders. Hive mind does not indicate whether or not you are an outsider or not. Because there are ways to be hive mind connected in this way, in this plane. It's still a Terran link. Now there are some demons, Tanari, that are that way, that have the directive to take over places. Okay? And if you and demons are outsiders. Yes. Because demons and daemon is long story, but anyway, demons are from the abyss. The abyss is an outside plane. Yes, it gradually gets towards the chaos plane, but it still has physics, it still has laws, it's still a lawful plane. Okay. Does that answer your question now? But it is not uncommon for demons to be on the mission to take over everything, destroy everything. Devils take over, demons destroy. So I guess that is a huge difference between the two. And that's why they hate each other. Because demons destroy everything that they can get their hands on. Devils take over and dominate everything that they can get their hands on. Now, did I answer your question? Yes, that's true. Talmaru and Nargoth hate each other for that exact reason I just said. Okay, all right. Jalil Air, question. You said you have a question. What is it? Yeah, there's still. It would definitely affect their question. I mean, their role play. If they become affixed, if a powerful shaman or powerful necromancer uh, grounds them, bonds them to whichever plane, it's definitely going to affect the role play. All right. Most of you know that the magician is a necromancer. Okay? And I make mummies. The mummies I make are Terran, and they are bonded to this plane. Okay, they. That's why they don't have the ability to when they touch you to rot your flesh. They don't have that ability. My mummies don't, because they are not part of the negative material plane anymore. Negative material plane sucks your life when it if you're touched by it, and so you lose that ability if you are a Terran undead. Significantly alter your roleplay. And if you are bonded there and not here at all, okay, then the only time an undead could come here is when it's summoned. A it would not have the ability if it was bonded there into the nether or the other. It would not be coming here unless it was specifically summoned, and it could only be here for a short period of time during, whatever the summoning sets up, like demons and devils. Okay, demons and devils, generally speaking, unless they break free and then it's a whole nother ballgame. They're only here for the period of time that the spell is cast. Okay, an undead that's bonded to the other, it's totally fine. The only an undead that's bonded to the nether or the ether is only going to be able to come here during the time it's summoned. Now, does that answer your questions? A lich is, yeah, it's still lich if it becomes fixed here, but it loses some of its abilities. It loses the abilities that transfers energy to the nether. Okay. Yes, generally speaking, it's not a change. Most people already know these things. It's just they don't know that they know it. All right, because it's not a conscious thing. It's something that is taken for granted. It's not a change. It's taken for granted. Yes, that's correct. If it's entirely tied to the nether, its power to harm is going to be greater because anything that touches the nether has its life force sucked out. Okay? That's what the nether does. It sucks out your life. So, yes, it's going to be more powerful on that level. But it's also not going to have the ability to stay here. Does that help? Does that answer your question, Jaloya Air? Okay. Any other questions about anything that we have discussed? Doom, 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 doom. Okay. I mean, all the way across the board. I mean, you got, I'm get a couple more minutes here before I have to shut it down. So I'm throwing those questions out. Because the stuff that is other planar is what confuses most people. Okay? It's just as confusing as magic. I mean, magic itself is manipulating the laws of this world. And to a lot of people, that's completely confusing. Yes, NPCs, all right. Another reason why I chose the villains to be NPCs is because NPCs operate on a different law system, different set of rules. And another reason why I didn't choose PCs to be the supervillains, because PCs have to follow the PC rules. NPCs have a different set of laws. They have the same weapons, but they can use, they have the same stuff, but they can use a lot more things. All right? And they can use 4 or 5 weapons in some cases. If they have 6 arms, guess what? They can use 6 weapons. Okay? That's okay. Because they operate on a different level of rules than players do. You know? Now, the person playing that character, that's going to be rough to try to figure out how you can pull off using 6 weapons. But hey, if you can figure it out and you're an NPC, go for it. That's all good. All right. Yes. Um, Marilith. For those of you that don't know, Marilith can it's not uncommon to have six arms. Yes, a Marilith not uncommonly has 6 arms. That's correct. Not uncommon. So Deanan as an NPC would be nasty. Hard to play, but yes, uh, quite nasty. Any other questions? Yes, that's because the NPCs, just for the OOC reason, is because NPCs are usually fighting by themselves, so they have higher hit points and more power, or they're fighting with a extremely small group. They are designed to fight against a bunch of people. An NPC by themselves, yeah, they're supposed to fight 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, whatever number of people. One person is supposed to be able to fight 10 people. All right? That's why they have more power. It's because they're designed to fight 10 people, whatever. Right? Let's see, yeah. Like Darth Maul, he had to fight 2 Jedis, right? And so, extra power. All right? But it's designed for that, in that way, for that reason. It's because they're not meant to fight one on one with anyone. So that's the OOC reason. Does that make sense? Okay. That's right. They don't have to have friends. Yeah. They don't have to get along with anybody else. They don't have to go out and have a drink with Billy Bob afterwards, you know? So they don't they come, they go whenever they feel like. Or, when the role play is right. But you get me. Okay. Any other questions? All right. If questions develop and you I don't expect you to wait until my next row to ask them. Okay. Drop them on a conclave member. They'll answer them if they can. If they feel that it requires my input, then they'll bring it to me. All of my conclave have a way to reach me outside of the world. Okay? And I do my best to respond. Okay? Yes, you have a question? Certainly. Go ahead.
Can you hear me? Testing. Okay. So I brought it up into the conclave yesterday, Lord Malikith, about. I know sometimes certain people. It was because you mentioned this is what made me think of it. Certain people have an easier time contacting other people. Like for say, if you need to be contacted and people can't get in touch with you, they know they can come to me or one of the conclave, and we can usually pretty easily get in touch with you. Oh well, some of our guild leaders and stuff like that, or people that aren't online as much as they normally are, also have certain people that can contact them easier than other people. So I wanted to talk about maybe posting something up in that regards to where if somebody's having trouble getting information or something, that they do or should come to any member of the conclave. We have a lot of members in the conclave right that can be gone to. With those people that can be gone to now, we have enough people that can get a hold of other people that may need to be gotten a hold of if they have certain time frames that they can only be on for, or need to know that they need to be on. Because some people don't even know that they need to be on; they're just sitting off doing something else or something. Would that be a problem setting up something like that? The other conclave members seem to think it was a good idea. We do have a Discord for those that wish to use it set up for the Great Alliance. I can post out that information as well too. Did you get that, Malekith? Okay. All right, I'll see about getting that around, but then again, anybody else who can hear me at the moment, so you know that that's something that we're going to attempt to do with having so many new MS stuff like that. might be easier to get a hold of that person. If you wanted to do, let's say with this, let's use this Year of the Villain RP stuff. Okay, let's just throw that out there. If there was a certain villain that you wanted to interact with, but you couldn't get a hold of them, thank you, Niff, you're awesome. If there was a certain NPC that you wanted to get a hold of that has been RPing or doing something, and you don't know how to get a hold of them, contact the conclave, and one of those conclave members, even Trinity, will, as she's heading up a lot of that, would know how to get that person online for your RP or whatever map. So if you're not seeing that person on, it might just be else, or it's an NPC that only comes on every so often, like some of our battle people. We have battle people that only come on so often, and I have already discussed this with a couple people just to kind of see how it would go through, and I brought it up in the Discord chat for the conclave, and talked with like Acacia, Aurelia, Niff, and a few others about it. Malachite was involved in it, so I thought that this might be a good way to get a hold of people that you might not normally be able to get a hold of or schedule a role play with, using the conclave for the means that it's supposed to be there for, is connecting everybody together. So that's all I had to say. I wanted to get Malachite's opinion on it.